bring in retired U.S. Army Major General William Enyart. If these reports, sir, are confirmed by the Pentagon, how could and should the U.S. respond?
Well, certainly in response to the current situation where we have apparently a pilot and co-pilot. The F-15 is a two-seater. We have two U.S. airmen down behind Iranian lines. The rescue attempt will be quite rapid, and they certainly have an idea of where the plane went down. With the fact that there's been one ejection seat which is empty, evidently found. That's certainly the photographs that are going up, and they appear to be corroborated, although not corroborated by the U.S., but appear to be reliable. They have an idea where to look, and will certainly concentrate their efforts there.
Yeah.
If what you are asking is in terms of what a response to the Iranian military should be, or the Iranian government, since they've now successfully evidently shot down an American plane, I suspect that the response is going to be what was going to happen anyway, or according to the president's speech the other night, what was going to happen anyway, which is going to be a continued, very strong air effort against the Iranian military and infrastructure. So I suspect, if anything, this will simply encourage that.
And yeah, as I'm taking a look at some of the reporting that Robert Sherman just brought us, talking about this being in the southwestern portion of Iran, and he mentioned that with the search and rescue efforts that are now underway, that would then put U.S. personnel in more of harm's way. So walk us through what that search looks like and what downed pilots may be experiencing, especially when we're talking about seeing that ejection seat out.
Well, those pilots will be seeking to evade capture, assuming that they're not injured, and assuming that they are alive. And certainly we hope that with an empty ejection seat that pilot escaped the ejection seat and is seeking to hide now. The rescue aircraft would be Hercules C-130s. As well as helicopters, and we have specially trained rescue units who will be combing that area, searching for those pilots. In the event that, and then of course we'll be attempting to suppress any anti-aircraft fire, which would go after those helicopters and those 130s searching. We had a lot of experience doing this in Vietnam. We've had less experience doing it since that time. Excuse me, but these rescuemen train very diligently for this, and it's one of the most prestigious jobs in the Air Force, or indeed any of the military services, to be part of those crews seeking to rescue downed airmen.
Yeah, and we just heard President Trump vowing to end operations against Iran in a matter of weeks. Now here we are with this. So this is breaking news. We are following it together. How could this change the trajectory of the conflict? Because as we know, this is going to ramp things up, it sounds like.
Well, as a very good friend of mine just texted me a few minutes ago, he's a retired Air Force general. He said, all it takes is one golden bullet, and this can happen. And with the number of missions that both we and the Israelis have been flying over Iran, sooner or later, they were bound to get lucky and bring an aircraft down. And of course, we lost the 3 F-15s to friendly fire. We lost the KC-135, other KC-135s damaged, as well as an E-3A. So we've certainly suffered aircraft losses, although they've not been prior to this due to combat fire from the Iranians. But when you're flying 10 and 12 and 13,000 missions over a country that's firing back at you, sooner or later you're going to lose an aircraft, and that indeed is what has happened here. The question now is, what will the impact of losing one plane over Iran have? With the amount of firepower that we have there, with the amount of troops and sailors and soldiers, it's bound to happen that we are going to have other losses.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.